The United stand. This is your Manchester United versus Tottenham preview. Will Jose Mourinho sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? This is what many Manchester United fans are predicting. I would say deep down some United fans, sadly, are even hoping it will happen. Look, I'm not that sort of fan. I don't wish United lose games. I don't wish Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to get humiliated. And ultimately, I put a tweet out today and said, the context behind the tweet was basically, who would have thought a year ago, as Jose Mourinho walked into Ed Woodward's office a year ago to talk about January transfer targets and walked out sacked by Ed Woodward. I mean, that's got to be pretty low for a man with a Wikipedia page like Jose Mourinho to walk into a room and be sacked by a banker. I said banker, not capital W, although some might think that. So Mourinho a year ago walks into an office to talk about January transfer window targets and walks out sacked by Ed Woodward. A year later, he's going to Old Trafford with Spurs on a high, with an opportunity to ram it right up the useless one's arse. And I'm not talking about Ollie as useless one, I'm talking about Woodward here. If Mourinho comes to Old Trafford on Wednesday night, beats Manchester United, in a situation where Manchester United have their worst start since 1986, and Ollie is struggling for any credibility, it's going to be a huge night. And I think Spurs do come as favourites as well. I think they do. I think they're on a high and we're on a low. I think that their team is better than ours if it plays to its potential. But then I find myself thinking Manchester United will not lose this game, which I'll get into in a moment. But what I struggle with at the moment is I have no loyalty to Ed Woodward, the Glazers, the way the Manchester United Football Club is run. I have a lot of sympathy with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Nothing will change my mind on that. I absolutely adore Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he is a really nice bloke. He's a legend of our club, and I think he's been treated badly. And I think he's caught in the middle of something that's way, way bigger than him. I do not blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for taking this job. I do not blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for not walking away from this job. I just think that this job was and is too big for him. And I think, as I said at lunchtime in my rant, that the issue here is Ed Woodward and the Glazers and the way that they physically make me want to throw up with the way they're running our football club. And you know what? I don't want Manchester United to lose on Wednesday. I don't want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be humiliated on Wednesday. But if it did happen, there's a big part of me that will think, well, there you go, Woodward. This is you again. This is you again. Making decisions your brain can't cash. And it's set up to be a huge game. And to be honest with you, I know a lot of people are nervous about it, but I'm excited about it. I am excited about this game because I think that, I always say this, I want Leeds United to get promoted because they're a massive rival of United. And yes, it means another hard game for us in a Premier League season, but I want to see Manchester United tested. I want to see the big games. I don't have a hell of a lot of respect for playing Villa and Bournemouth because they're not really the big games. I want to see the big games. And this game on Wednesday and this game on Saturday, I'm excited about it. I know people are scared because they're thinking we're going to get humiliated, but these are the games you want to watch. This is why you love football. So I'm really looking forward to it. In the context of the league, Tottenham are in 5th on 20 points and we are in 9th on 18 points. So 2 points separate us at the moment. I think it's got draw written all over it, personally. I don't know about you thinks. KFC Chow says, Ollie's excuse is the youth needs time and it's a learning curve, but look at Alexander-Arnold and look at Mbappe. They need world-class players around them. And Ollie in, plastic fans out, says Yasser Said. That's going to cause you a few problems. But look, you know what I would say? I said it at lunchtime. This talk about time and youth, it's a myth. It's a myth. And I've got to be honest with you now, I don't really pay much attention to what Solskjaer says in relation to a lot of things because I just don't think he's up to the job anymore. For me personally, and I think I'm in the minority here, Ollie's become irrelevant. He's a legend. That nothing changes with regards to that. I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but this is bigger than Ollie. Ollie would be not in a job if we had competent owners anyway. So to focus all your frustration and hate or whatever it is on Ollie out, for me is wasted energy because that is irrelevant. As I said at lunchtime, if we had competent owners, if we had a director of football, they'd look at this situation like we are and go, look at the games he's lost with the players he's got. Look at the way they're playing. Look, legend or not, you judge him as a manager and it's just not good enough. I'm sorry, my recommendation is that he's sacked and we get such and such in. That's what a director of football would do, so you should not have any guilt about that. We don't need to rant about Ollie. It's just the facts are there in front of you. You don't need to feel guilty. He is a legend and nothing will take that away, but as a manager, he's worse than Moyes. And he shouldn't be in position. We know that. But the bigger problem is, and let me just add this in as a topical point, Pochettino himself quoting that, he's ready to take a job if it comes up right now. And yet again, United, we go back to what the real problem is. The playing staff is awful, and the owner and the chief executive in Ed Woodward are useless. They're the useless ones. Pochettino is available. Yeah, you've got to negotiate with Spurs, basically, because 12 million is what it's going to cost to take him, because that was his payoff unless he takes a job this year, and then Spurs need to be recompensed. But Pochettino is available. Now, look, I'm not getting into that conversation because I don't even know if I want Pochettino, but of course I would take Pochettino over Ollie, because Pochettino is a proven Premier League manager who can work on a budget and actually has a style of play. I don't know whether it's the right style of play for us, but he's available. He is available, and the message coming out of United is, no, we're happy with what we've got. And you're like, hello. Like, are you seeing what we're seeing? Or is your head so far up your arse you're blind? Because Pochettino's available, and United are going to blow it again. And what will probably happen is Pochettino will go to Bayern or maybe even an Arsenal. And in about a month's time, when we've lost another 4 or 5 games and we've been kicked out the FA Cup by Wolves away, they'll realise what many fans have realised for the last few weeks, that the change needs to happen now. But when they make that change in January, or they need to make that change in January, or they go to make that change in January, there won't be the managers available that there were then. So it's just going from bad to worse with regards to Manchester United. It really is. But let's talk about this game. I think this game's going to be a draw. If you look at the team on my left, I think there's 2 ways that Manchester United can line up in this game on Wednesday night. And obviously I've gone with team number 1 there. Now, the latest team news we're getting in Ole Solskjaer's press conference tomorrow. Let me just read a few super chats, actually, and then I can update you on that one. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so Mark, I think if Ollie wants to be the hero that saved this club, he would take himself out of the job and expose the Glazers and Woodford of who they are and what they're doing to our club. That's from Victor Batteries. Yeah, yes and no, but then again, would you walk away from this job? You'd still, if you believe in yourself and you love the club, you're going to stubbornly stick with it. I can get why Ollie's doing that. Jordan Such says, also Spurs won 3-0 at Old Trafford last season, so that will give them even more confidence. If Ollie does lose Wednesday, would you keep him knowing it's City on Saturday? I don't see Ollie going, even if we lose to Spurs, Jordan, to be honest. I'll come back to that. Zane Scope says, Mark, should we wait for Pogba and Mayo to come back to see if we notice an improvement on how we play? No, Zane. I really don't want to see that, because that would frustrate the hell out of me. This excuse that Mayo, I mean, fucking Mayo. He's a good player, but he's like, is he an Everton midfielder? Like, we don't know about Scott McTominay just because he puts a lot of effort in and he looks all decent. Everyone thinks he's the bloody best thing since sliced bread. I don't even know how good McTominay is. He's good in the team that we've got, but that team can't beat Villa. So, I don't think McTominay's going to... I've seen McTominay get overrun by Arsenal. I've seen him get overrun by Liverpool at times. I don't know how good he is, and Pogba's very inconsistent. So I don't see them as the second coming of, United are going to suddenly be title contenders. We're a long way from that. Joe and Daniel says, how many of these players will actually emerge better from this rebuild? Going through this sort of pressure to perform might just break them. None of them are genuine leaders that take charge. That's a good point. How many of these players are actually improving under Ollie? I think Martial has looked better as a number 9, but nobody else really stands out to me. McTominay, obviously, but the rest of them that are doing well are new signings. John Purosotham says, just wondering, when will the fans call out the average players who got 2 proven managers sacked and Ollie is next in line? Are they doing everything they can to win matches? They'll get anyone sacked. Ricky Barbrook says, love Ollie to pieces, but it's time to go. It's been shown tactically he's not the right man. Poch has to come in. If not, we may have missed a big opportunity. And Steph Chadwick says, like you, I hate being Ollie out, but with a squad that a large part of is past it, bang average, his naive tactics are costing us, and you can say, has he improved anyone? I don't want us to miss out on Poch. Humi says, welcome back, mate. You look refreshed. For me, 1-1 or 2-2 written all over it. Game will be like a chess match. And I do agree with you on that, Humi. I mean, let's just bring it back to the game for a moment. I do agree with you. I think it's going to be a draw. And I know I predicted we'd beat Newcastle and we lost. I know we predicted I'd beat Villa and we'd draw. But on the big games, I've been right, especially at Old Trafford. I predicted that we wouldn't lose to Arsenal. We didn't. I predicted we wouldn't lose to Liverpool, and we didn't. And I'm going to predict we don't lose to Spurs either. I think it's too much of a game. The magnitude of this game is too big. If you lose it, it's too big. It's bigger than losing the derby on Saturday for me, because it's Mourinho coming back to Old Trafford against the manager that replaced him. I think it's just too symbolic to lose it. And I just don't see that happening. So I may be really naive on this, but I'm going to go with a draw or a United win. I don't see us losing this game. Jose will shush the entirety of Old Trafford, says 2007. And I think that's very interesting. Before we look at that team on the left there, I think that's very, very interesting with United on Wednesday night. Because how do you think, and Thierry Mainrick says your reaction to Wolves away in the FA Cup draw, which I will talk about in a moment, but how do you think Jose Mourinho will be received on Wednesday night, and how will you receive him, whether you're at the game or you're watching it on the telly? Because for me, I suspect that Mourinho will be applauded when he walks on the pitch, and I think Mourinho will play off that. I think Mourinho is very clever on how you deal with the Old Trafford crowd or any intimidating away crowd. He will respect us, he will applaud us, and he will expect that back. And I personally think United fans will do that. And I think they will do that because, one, we've got a great fan base, but two, because we've fallen into the trap. I think because, and also I think people will do it more importantly because they see Woodward as the villain and they see Mourinho as a victim of that villain. And I think that Mourinho will be applauded. And I think that will make it easier for Spurs to get a result. Personally, as Manchester United fans, if we were of the right mindset, we should be making it really intimidating and mocking Mourinho, like Chelsea did when he went back there, even though he's the greatest manager they've ever had. But we don't have that confidence, and I don't think we have that feeling to do it. Personally, my feeling towards Mourinho on Wednesday is a little bit apathetic. I totally agree with why he was sacked, and he's acknowledged that himself. I think it was right to sack him because it was only going to get worse. So it was the right decision to do it. But I don't hold any malice towards him. I don't hold any disdain or hate towards Mourinho. I think fair play to him. He looks happy at Spurs. I think he's, Mourinho's box office, I'm not convinced he's still a great manager, but he's still an intriguing one, and I think he will be received quite well. You say that sacking Ollie isn't the answer because the problem's Woodward. I agree, but the fact is that even if we change the management, do you think that Ollie will do good in that case? The answer is no. So Ollie's another big problem, says Shady Abanaza. Look, I think I'm not going to hide away from that question. A lot of people have said that to me today. You're so obviously against Woodward and the Glazers, and you're saying that if you change them, then Ollie will be sacked anyway. But ultimately, they're not going anywhere. So surely you change the manager because he's still a problem. I think, to be honest with you, I'm so angry and I'm so frustrated with Woodward and the Glazers that I'm quite tunnel visioned. I don't know whether people have realised that with me. I'm quite tunnel visioned. I focus on the thing that is really irritating me, and that takes all of my energy. And at the moment, I'm really irritated and I'm really fed up with the ownership of this club and Ed Woodward. They irritate me so much. The Ollie, I'm not saying he's not part of the problem, because he certainly is, but my frustration is at Woodward and the owners. But you're right, actually looking at it logically, Woodward and the Glazers aren't going anywhere. So do you just keep Ollie because you got to keep them? And you're right, no, he should go. He should go. And that's very, very sad, but he should go. You're right. I agree with that. What we see now, and no, Red92 says what we see now, and no, it wasn't Jose's fault. Well, look, I'm not going to be. I don't like rewriting history. I mean, Jose Mourinho was bad for Manchester United. That situation was toxic. You would have lost Martial, you would have lost Pogba, you would have lost 2 or 3 other players as well. He would have brought in players like Boateng. He brought in Matic and Lukaku. Jose didn't. Jose's not faultless. Jose made a right pig's ear of United. But what he did do is finish second with a shit team. But then everybody else improved. and Liverpool nearly won a title. So United under Jose, it just became very toxic, and Jose got very pissed off. And I think Jose, to be honest with you, it's one thing to get yourself into third or fourth. Do you think Mourinho, even now, can still break the Liverpool City axis? Because I don't think he can. I think he can be the best of the rest, but I don't think he can be Pep or Klopp at the moment. Ollie has to learn that our greatest defence is great offence. Seeing it at so many occasions this season, says Olius. And Cilia says, hi Mark, out of topic, but the join button doesn't show for people in my region and I can't send a super chat when I'm back home. I'm from the Gambia but currently in Senegal. I hope it's fixed soon. I think it's to do with certain countries you can become a member, in some countries you can do super chats, but yeah, in some you can't, and that's down to YouTube. And Ekin Okori says, remember when Gary Neville was losing his mind over penalties till Rashford started missing them now? Neville doesn't care about penalties anymore. And Jordan Such, Mark, you say games are won and lost in the midfield, which they are, so how can you say you can't see us losing? Have you seen Spurs midfield to ours? Yeah, Jordan, I agree with you, but have you seen, did you see Liverpool's 2 hours and we didn't lose there? So I just think what's going to happen, and you're right to pull me back, you're right, and I just want to give a shout out to Drawty Devil for putting up the Christmas tree while I've been away. It is Christmas, and we've got the Christmas tree there for the next month, so we will try and boost your mood while we can. Also, as well, I know a lot of you are getting them now because I've seen the orders coming in. 5 Cantonars. Look, we may not be able to provide a Christmas jumper with Martial or James or anyone like that on it because they're all underperforming. But 5 Cantonars is the Manchester United song of the terrorist, and you can get your Christmas jumper for your Christmas party or over the Christmas period. The classic jumper that no one can mock you with, because 5 Cantonars, it's just pure class. The link's in the video description. Get hold of yours. It's available worldwide, of course, but get your orders in quick because it won't be available worldwide for much longer, because certain areas it won't get to before Christmas. But you can get yours. The link's in the video description. Now, let's bring it back. The team on the left is how I think we could line up against Spurs. There's 2 ways I think we could line up. First of all, I hope it's like this. I don't like the personnel, but I hope it is like this. Maguire and Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, De Gea, of course. I don't see Brandon Williams playing against Spurs, and I agree. I agree with that, because he's a young lad, and these fans who've been saying, oh, rest in peace, Shaw and Young, Brandon Williams has retired them. Idiots. Absolute idiots who don't know anything about football, because he's a kid. He cannot play every single game. He's going to make mistakes, he's going to be inconsistent, and then you're going to turn on him, like you did with Chong. He needs to play the odd game here and there, and he needs to share the role with Luke Shaw. But what I think Ollie will do on Wednesday, dun dun dun, is bring back the clown at left back, the Pratt, Ashley Young. I think he will be back in wearing the captain's armband on Wednesday night, Ashley Young. And I think that's what's going to happen. Into the midfield, I think McTominay will be back. I don't expect Pogba to be back, and I think that will be confirmed in the press conference tomorrow morning. McTominay, I think, will run through brick walls for United, and I think he will be back, and he will play with Fred. Then you'd probably put Pereira here. He might play Lingard. I don't think he'll play Mata again. I don't think he should ever play Mata again. Absolutely despicable performance against Aston Villa. All I'm going to say about Mata is he had a despicable home performance over a year ago against Leicester, and we gave him a contract a year later. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We talk about rebuilds and we talk about the future, and we're handing contracts out to dead wood. Ridiculous. And you know what? I love Juan Mata. Just like I love Ollie, but ruthless. Mata's done and Ollie's out of his depth. You know, it doesn't matter how much you love them, they're out, they're done. And they shouldn't be here, and that's what progress is all about. And then the front 3, I think, will be James, Martial and Rashford. I think that's how we will line up. Alex S says, hey Mark, I agree with you on the Glazers and Woodward. The problem is they're not going anytime soon, so they should sack Ollie because it's the only way to go forward. It will expose them. Jola Shully says, hello Mark, sorry to bother you. I want to know if you Ollie out yet, says Jola Shuhul. Well, we've just been talking about that. I mean, realistically, I think a change needs to be made. I wouldn't move away from what I said before the Villa game. This week will define Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He will either sack himself or not. I'd be a little bit premature to start saying do it now, because we're never going to sack our manager after the Villa game with Spurs on Wednesday and City on Saturday. Even if we lose to Jose on Wednesday, he will still get another chance again in the derby, because the games are too quick Villa to Wednesday, it's too quick to sack your manager. Wednesday to Saturday, it's too quick to sack your manager. So he's basically got 3 final bites of the cherry for me. And I think if he wins any of those games, he stays in a job. 2 draws and a loss, he should be gone. 2 losses and a draw, he should be gone. But if he wins any of these last 2, he will survive. But for me, he's got to win the last 2. Or he's got to win and draw to have any chance in my mind of me not being Ollie out. For me, the definitive answer from me will come on Sunday or Saturday night after the game. But as you can tell, I don't oppose anybody who's saying he needs to go. I just know at this moment, this week, it's not going to happen. So he's going to get 2 more chances to stay. The owners and Ed are terrible, but there are still enough resources for a manager to do better than this. Therefore, Ollie has to go, says Cy Jones. And I do agree with that. I mean, look, this team isn't good enough to win a title, and we all knew that in the summer, but it certainly shouldn't be losing to West Ham, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Palace, drawing at home to Villa. It's way better than that. We're way underachieving. Ollie till the end of the year, then Rodgers in, says Damu ooh. I mean, I think that makes a good point as well. I think Damu makes a good point there, because the point is, I think if we could just get to the summer, then maybe they would make a change, because in the summer there might be better options. And I said this at lunchtime, if you sack Ollie and you get an interim until in the summer, that's what we did a year ago. You can't do that again. Who would the interim be? Ollie is the interim and we gave him the full-time job. So who is the interim that's going to come in till the summer? It's a bloody mess. They've made a right mess. Thank you to the Woodwards and the Glazers. They've absolutely messed us up. Because actually, it probably is better to wait till the summer to try and get a Rodgers or a Poch or an Ajax manager. But the trouble is, we need to make a change now. And we can't bring an interim in because the interim's already in. Was willing to give Ollie a chance, but the Sheffield game was it for me. We shouldn't allow that as a norm for us. Also, when is the next call-in show, says Cillian? Well, it was going to be a call-in tonight, but unfortunately I've had to put it back to later in the week. But maybe... I mean, we're going to struggle this week. It'll definitely be next Monday. The thing is, with the current management and players, I don't think there is a manager capable of saving Manchester United. The players are not good enough, says Shady Abanas. But the problem is with Manchester United, and I'm only halfway through the Tottenham. I think we might line up in another way, is what I'm trying to say. But the problem with Manchester United, I've been doing this show for a long time. I've had my say, you've had your say. And basically, if you took an average of what every United fan is saying, what we're saying is that this team isn't good enough and we need to sell half of it and we need to recruit 10 or 11 players. We need to do that. We don't have the owners to do it. We need to spend about £500 million. We need a competent director of football, a competent manager, and £500 million. We haven't got a director of football, we haven't got a competent manager, and we're spending 60 million in the summer. So, net. So we're not doing any of the things that we need to do. We are retaining the crap players. We are not spending enough money. We are not recruiting a director of football. We don't have a competent coaching staff. And we have a bloody bunch of Dracula bloodsuckers as owners. So, you know what? Of course we're failing. And who suffers? We do. The players are still multimillionaires. The coaching staff are multimillionaires. Woodward and the Glazers are probably billionaires. And the fans who love the club are sat there just absolutely distraught, emotionally wrecked. We are the losers and we're absolutely powerless. I'll tell you what though, I will say this on air, I'm not bothered because, as people know, because I do the watch-alongs, I don't really go to games. So I feel a bit of hypocrites to say this, but Flex goes to the games, we've got season tickets. I would say this at this point, if you want to make a really big impact against the Glazers and Woodward, don't go to a game. But I tell you what, we'll still fill the next home game on Wednesday night. We'll still fill it, the game against Everton after that. And we'll keep filling it because for all that goes on at Manchester United, those match day going fans are very loyal. And whether that loyalty is bordering on stupidity, well, I don't necessarily agree with that. It's a personal choice. But if you really wanted to send a message to those people, then that ground needs to be half empty. And that would send a message because the media would have to sit and take notice. But it won't happen because there is too much apathy in the United fan base. They'll all moan, but then they'll feed the hand that's causing the problems. And this is why I haven't bought any merchandise from United for ages, because I refuse to put money into their pocket because they are destroying our football club. And you've almost got to destroy it backwards. You've got to hurt them to relieve the pain on yourself. Internally, they should be Ollie out and start contract talks with Poch to come in after the City game, says Handavan Balakandra. Yeah, but it's money again, isn't it? It's money. It's going to cost them 12 million quid. Anyway, so that's one way that United could play. I've seen a lot of people talking about this, and I've got to be honest with you, I'm fearful that we might do this as well. It's basically a 5-2-3. So you go back to the three centre-backs that hasn't worked, but you bring Twansebi in. Wan-Bissaka and Young become like the wing-backs. McTominay sits with Fred, and then you've got a front three. But as I've said before, what happens with this is, and I'll draw the circle to emphasise it, you become the mint with a hole. You become the polo. You become, absolutely nothing in the middle, and Spurs will just absolutely annihilate us. So I really, really, really hope that we don't do that. But the way we tactically approach this game, I think we do need to spend a minute or so talking about it. Jordan Such says, when Ollie said he's not worried about the league table because it is tight, that is a big indication that he's not the man to get United back to the top. 22 points off top after 14 games is beyond belief. I know, Jordan. I spoke about this on Twitter yesterday. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he's not worried about the league because it's really tight, but we're 22 points off the top. If Moyes had said that, if Mourinho had said that, if Van Gaal had said that, we'd have all gone absolutely mental. But we let Ollie off the hook so much because we love him. But he comes out with comments that are just bordering on, ridiculous. But he gets let off with a lot because we love him so much. And it's ridiculous how low this club has dropped. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't Manchester United legend and he changed his name to David Moyes, ex-Everton manager, and then you lined up the quotes next to him, he'd be gone. He'd be absolutely gone. He's constantly trying to buy time and lower expectations. I understand why he's doing that, because if you lower expectations and it works, you take the pressure off yourself. But all this talk in those first few months about he knows what Manchester United's all about, does he do that anymore? No. All that confidence is gone. It's now about time. The first 3 months it was about you've got to go and win every game. You've got to go and do it in the right way. Now it's all about in time they're going to get better. It's a total flip. I think it's really interesting when you look at his quotes in the first 3 months to what they are now. And it's a total change because he knows the writing's on the wall. Mark, I will be a Red Devil when you play Spurs. Hope you smash the scum, says Amy Assi. No surprise there from the Arsenal fan. But I really, really hope that we don't go back to the 3-5-2 or what in effect will be the 5-3-2. But I do think that the way Jose approaches this game and the way Ollie approaches this game is going to be very interesting. Now, Mourinho at the weekend against Bournemouth did sort of play this 4-2-3-1 he has been playing, and Dele Alli's been very good for him recently, but he put Lucas Moura on the bench and he played Sissoko to the right hand side. I think he's going to go with the same approach again. I'll be very surprised if he goes Son, Kane, Moura as the front three with Dele Alli in behind him. I think he will chuck Sissoko in and keep Moura on the bench and go a little bit more safe in the midfield. Mourinho doesn't want to lose this game. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't afford to lose this game. So for me, it's got a draw written all over it. I think Mourinho would be ecstatic with a point, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be ecstatic with a point. So I don't think Ole's going to go gung-ho against Mourinho. I don't think he's got the balls to do it. And I don't blame him for that. I also don't think Mourinho is going to come to Old Trafford and go gung-ho. I think it will be safety first, it will be defence first, and I do think you might, for that reason, see Ole going with 5 at the back to sort of overcompensate and make sure that he doesn't lose. So the game as a spectacle could be quite dull, but I think it's going to, even if it is, it's going to be a very intriguing high-level chess game because, you're thinking about decisions of the referee, VAR, mistakes. Saying it's going to be a draw, it looks logical, but, I never, when I used to have a bet, I would never bet on a draw because it just doesn't feel right, and I think it's very precarious. But I do see a draw because Mourinho won't want to lose, and Ole can't afford to lose, and we'll be stuck in a situation where a draw's not enough. But I think we've lost that, haven't we? I think we've lost that as a fan base, this ability to look at a game and go, yeah, we should be winning that, because we're so bad that that's a winnable game has sort of become lost from the United fan vocabulary. Draws. And also, let's not forget, if we did draw against Spurs, that's 3 points from our last 9 against Villa, Spurs and Sheffield United, and 2 of them have been at home. So It's a bad result, a draw. We need a win, but I don't think Ollie will have the balls to go and do it. In a million years, I would never have thought that you, Mark, would turn against Ollie. The time Ollie needs us, the fans, the most, you turn your back, says Yes Sir Said. Well, no, I haven't actually done that, though, have I, Yazza? I've said that, to be honest with you, I will wait till Sunday night to give my definitive answer. But what I have said is that, to be honest with you, he does need to go. I can look at it for pragmatically as a fan channel and say, look, it's not good enough. It's the worst start for 26. It's the worst start since 1986. The tactics are horrendous. We don't dominate anybody. The players are actually trying hard, and they've knocked down tools and they're awful. It's a mess. It's a mess, and I love Ollie. I can't not say that. But I've worked with people and I've had people work for me in the past that I really like, and I've had to say, you're out. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough. You don't owe anybody a living out of sympathy. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would want the job out of sympathy. Oh, because he scored a goal and he's a legend. That's not. You don't want that. You want the job on merit. And at the moment, I've got to be honest, if he was sacked tomorrow morning, would I be surprised? Well, I would be surprised because I know that the club aren't going to sack him. But if we had competent owners and a director of football who knew what they were on about, and I woke up tomorrow morning and it said Ollie sacked, I'd be very sad, but I would go, totally agree with it. I totally agree with it because you can't argue with it. It is deserved sacking. I'd just be sad for Ollie because I just think he's a nice guy, and and I would be sad because I've got a lot of time for him. But on facts, yeah, you can't argue with it. Mark, I had an audience with the Pope and asked him to bless the United players that when they play Spurs. Zane. Please do smash a like on the video, everybody. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. What do you think about promoting Ollie to the... Oh, my God. If I get asked this question again, I'm going to scream. What do you think about promoting Ollie to director of football role and getting Poch in as manager? I know it won't happen, but let's say it does. That's from Shady Abamnas. Shady, this might be the first time you've ever heard me answer this. For everybody else who's heard me answer it a million times in the last month, I can't stand this question. I don't get this question. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer moved to director of football to bring Pochettino in. Look, Ole's out of his depth as a manager, and he's been a manager at Mulder and Cardiff. When has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer been a director of football? Like, why would Manchester United, the biggest club in the world, who've not even got a director of football, create the role and then give it to somebody who hasn't got a clue what they're doing? I mean, if you want to get Pochettino and sack Ole. I'll get over it. I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. But don't compound the mistake by sacking somebody who deserves the sack and then putting him into a very important role. A director of football would oversee Pochettino. Do you actually think this through and think you want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be in charge of Pochettino? And also, what's Ole's credentials to be a director of football? Wan-Bissaka we were working on before Ole even came to the club. Dan James was a recommendation from Ryan Giggs. And Harry Maguire, if you've got £80 million, it's hardly rocket science to go and sign him, is it? So, yeah, the 3 signings have been good. But actually, look at them recently. They're starting to suffer under the coaching as well. So, I don't see what Ole does to merit director of football, to be honest with you. If only there was a manager with high-press attacking football tactics, trust in youth, no overshadowing CV to proven in the Premier League and the Champions League with a shrewd board. Thomas Ayling, I think you've just described Pochettino, and I think that was your whole point. And Nick P says, sick of hearing about bloody Jose. He made a 1 substitution in his first game and suddenly he's a tactical mastermind. Ollie will never anger me like that man did. Perhaps that's why we put up with him. That's from Nick P. And Adrian Gorchia says, if Woodward and Glazer sack Ollie, they'll probably appoint Emery. Adrian, and that's a very, very good point. It's not a reason to stick with Ollie if you want him to go, but let's not forget who's in charge of Manchester United. If they sack Ollie, what if they don't go for Poch and they go for Allegri? That to me is another mistake. So I don't trust this board. I don't trust Ed Woodward, and that's where my frustration is at the moment. Ollie looks like a lightweight boxer fighting in the heavyweight league. As much as we love the underdog, he won't stay in the fight for long, says Abanaf Ray. And why aren't people protesting outside of Old Trafford? I live in America, I can only do so much, but where are the Glazer outers? They only talk on Twitter, says Jimmy Marseille. I mean, Jimmy, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The problem with Manchester United fan base is it's very divided and it's very split. We need to bring Rennie Mullerstein back, says Roger Watson. I don't think we do. And I think he's another relic like Mike Phelan. They were good in their day, but I've got no confidence or reason to believe that they're the answer now. I think we need to stop harking back to the past and start being innovative as a football club. You know, there's probably people who are just coming into coaching in the next 5 years. They'll be the best coach in the world. That's what we should be looking for. If we're looking for players like that, we should be looking for coaches like that, not harking back to the past. Until Ed goes, nothing will change. If Ollie goes, who would trust Ed to make a decent appointment anyway, says Paul Banks. And how is Ollie better than Mourinho, says M and M. Yeah, it is interesting, and I think this week's going to be very, 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 very interesting indeed as to how it goes. You know, look, obviously we've got the watch along on Wednesday night, and on Saturday for the derby. They're big, they're massive games for us for totally the wrong reason. They're massive games for us because, you know, the manager is basically hanging on by his fingernails. But it's typical of these players, and it will irritate me in a way, although I really hope we do win. It will irritate me in a way how these players can pick and choose their games. How they're all right to put everything in at home to Spurs because Mourinho used to be the manager and they want to prove a point. But they can't do that against Villa. They can't do that away to Newcastle or Bournemouth. It's that lack of... I don't trust the players. I said that at the start of the season. I said it after the Cardiff game. I don't trust these players. I think you go into every game and you never know if they're going to win and play well or if they're going to play shit. And that lack of trust is very, very difficult. But going back to what people were saying, the Manchester United fan base is very divided. It is. There is a lot of toxicity in the United fan base, and I speak from this with total and utter evidence of it. You know, a lot of people don't like the United stand who are local fans because he's from Nottingham, Flex is from London, you know, fake fans, etc. Even though our fan base for decades has been based on a worldwide fan base, so there's too much infighting. Too many people want to be the top red. Too many people want to be the voice of the fans. I don't want to be the voice of the fans. I never wanted to be the voice of the fans. I just wanted to talk to the fans and get their opinion. That's the great thing about the United stand. And, you know, there does need to be a coordinated attack on this ownership of this club if we want to change it. And it certainly could be done. But the divisions in the fan base don't lead me to believe that that would happen. As I said, you know, it's not really for the United stand to say to season ticket holders, don't turn up to a game, because they'll just go F off, you know. But there does need to be a conjoined effort to do something, because at the moment we're absolutely toothless as a fan base. We're toothless. We're all angry, but no one wants to do anything, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. If only Jose was allowed his signings last summer, says Johnny Visuals. Yeah, but I know for a fact, Johnny, that one of those signings was Jerome Boateng. Crap signing. Would have been worse than Matic. So, you know, let's not pretend that was a good thing. Jose will ping long balls with 5 at the back and we will suffer, says Milverton Richards. Well, look, Jose's not stupid, and as we know, if any team sits back against us, we struggle. Simon Cliff, hello Simon, he says, who would do a better job under Ed in this ownership? I think many would struggle. I am not Ollie out as this mess lays with the board. Bashir Al-Sawif says, have you heard of the new sponsor deal with Hare, the mother company of Hoover, etc.? £70 million per shirt. Chevrolet's updated conditions are correlated with team performance. What does that tell us? Yeah. And Final Frontier says Allegri would be a terrible appointment for 3 reasons. 1, he's only ever managed in Italy. 2, he plays horrible Mourinho-type football. And 3, he has a worse command of English than even Emery. I don't want Allegri. I really hope he goes to Arsenal, because he would be the Italian Emery, exactly like you say. I tell you what I do fear, though, and this may become a problem or not. 1, I can't believe that we we probably should be sacking another manager before Christmas. You want to enjoy this time of year, and United yet again look like screwing it up one way or another. 2, if we do sack Ollie, this is a manager that we all love. And, you know, going back to that comment before, none of us really ever thought we'd be saying Ollie out because we loved him so much. And less than a year later, a lot of people are saying it. The next manager probably won't be a legend of the club. How patient will we be with him? You know, does he get a year? Does he get half of that because he's not a legend? You know, this is what I mean. At some point, and I totally agree that Ollie's out of his depth, but at some point, something's got to change higher up than that. Woodward, the Glazers, that's the change that's needed, because I'm scared about where we're going as a club. Either this is going to get really, really toxic for Ollie because the club refused to sack him, or they're going to sack him and we bring another manager in and we only give them 6 months. It's getting worse and worse and worse and more toxic. And if the owners have got any sense, they'd be looking to sell, because I can see where this is going, and so should they. And they're more interested in money than anything. So, you know, it's only going to get worse. The fans should do something serious, as Michelle. Anyway, look, what a show it's been tonight. Please do smash a like on the video, because I think we've had a cracking show and also done the preview, which isn't an easy thing to do. So thanks for everybody who's been getting involved. The comments has been absolutely superb. Wednesday night's going to be absolutely massive. The preview, the game against Spurs. Cannot wait for that. Flex and Rant show tomorrow. I've got Expressions on, who is a Spurs fan, so I'm sure that'll be good. I've got a video going up for you tomorrow night as well, which you're going to really enjoy. Give him time, give him time. He was the king in 1999. Mark, tell Drawty to show his face on his next watch along. Fans love to interact directly, says Cilia. Yeah, I don't think he'll do that. It's mystique, isn't it? It's like the stick. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you do subscribe if you're new, by the way, because I know we probably will have some new people. Bottom right hand corner, get involved. Watch alongs coming up this week. Fan cams, Flex and Rant show. A good show tomorrow night. Make sure you tune in for that. I think you're going to really enjoy that. And if you want to get your Christmas jumper, I know the Christmas tree's gone up. It is Christmas time. Christmas jumper, 5 Cantonars, links in the video description, or you can get one of our other jumpers and t-shirts. Be a nice little present for Christmas. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.